Welcome, gentle healers, to another heart to heart session with Talk and Toast, the podcast where we sip on life's wisdom, spread love like confetti, and navigate the beautiful chaos of our existence, one toast at a time. I'm your host, Coach G, and I'm your friendly neighborhood guide through the roller coaster of love, healing, self love, and the wild adventure of life. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey of laughter, insight, and of course, a touch of sparkling wisdom. Here at Talk and Toast, we believe in the power of conversation to heal, the magic of self love to transform, and the resilience that blooms when life throws a plot twist or two. Whether you're navigating through the labyrinth of love, on a quest for self discovery, or simply enjoying a moment of solace with your favorite cup of brew, this is the space where you've been searching for. So grab your favorite beverage, whether it's a comforting cup of tea, a rejuvenating coffee, or a glass of your preferred potion, because here we talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between, all while raising our glasses to the beautiful mess that is life. Each episode will dive into a pool of stories, insights, and advice that make the journey worthwhile. Expect a sprinkle of humor, a dash of vulnerability, and a whole lot of heart. We're here to remind you that you're not alone in this adventure, and there's always a reason to clink glasses in celebration. Whether you're a seasoned love enthusiast, a healing aficionado, or just someone looking for a bit of camaraderie on this crazy ride, Talk and Toast is your cozy corner of the podcast universe. So, my wonderful, gentle healers, let's raise our glasses high and toast to love, healing, self love, and the unpredictable but beautiful dance of life. This Talk and Toast, where every episode is a celebration and you're always invited to the party. All right, gentle healers. I'm so happy to have y'all with me on another episode of Talking Toast. It's been a little while. I had to revamp some things with the podcast and all kinds of stuff was taking place, but I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be here, just, in a different capacity, just ready to dive in and share so many things with y'all. In this episode, it doesn't necessarily personally for me hit home, but it does hit home in the respects of the people around me, some people that, are in my life, things that I've been witnessing, not necessarily with people that are in my life, but just overhearing conversations and things of that nature. So it definitely inspired this episode. So I want to set the stage first on identifying our expectations and discussing like what it means to have expectations of others. So the first thing I want to tap into is defining expectations. And they are the beliefs about how others, quote unquote, should act or show up. And often we don't examine these standards before projecting them onto other people. Sometimes they are silent expectations. We don't even speak about those expectations out loud. And we don't speak about them because we assume that people are supposed to just be able to show up in the way that we want them to, or we don't even know how to communicate those expectations. The second part of it is personal responsibility in those expectations, like reflecting on the importance of taking responsibility for what we're asking from others. And taking the time to ask yourself, do I genuinely embody the qualities that I'm asking of other people? And am I willing to give what I demand? So many times we walk into friendships, relationships, workships, companionships, whatever type of ship that you're tapping into, right? And we don't even take the time to ask ourselves again, do we embody the qualities that we're expecting from other people? Are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to do whatever it takes to maintain the friendship or the relationship? Are we great communicators? Are we loving? Are we moving in healed spaces? Are we selfless and a little selfish, right? And selfish in the right way, right? We want things from other people that we again don't even take responsibility for ourselves. So, for instance, no matter the type of relationship you're in, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever the case may be, right? We want our person to come in and treat us a particular type of way. I know that I like flowers every Friday, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, but I also had to relate that to my person. I also had to make sure that my person knew how to love me in my love language versus theirs. But everything that I wanted out of a relationship, I expressed that and I asked for that in return. Everything that I ask of my person are things that I am willing to do for my person if that is something that my person wants or likes. But I also took the time to find out what my person's love language was so that I could love her inside of her love language, right? And that was so important. Coming out of a marriage, there was a lot of things that I personally reflected on. And I didn't ask anything of my spouse at the time that I wasn't willing to give. I also reflected on how did I communicate those things, right? Was it in a space of expectation where I was willing to do it for myself? One, was I willing to do it for my spouse, or was I willing to even do it for other people? And all three were yes for me because I'm a very giving person. I just had to ensure that in my reflection that I was communicating that effectively and the right way. One thing that I did learn in my reflection is that my spouse did not know how to love me within my love language, but knew how to love me within his. And so that's where it got weird, where that dynamic just, was constantly bumping heads. And that's fine. We all have lessons that we learn out of each relationship and each, companionship or partnership, situationship, what have you. We all learn lessons. So I hope for him that he now understands about loving someone inside of their love language and being able to communicate what his love language is, and that she will be able to love him inside of his. So, we can't place expectations on people without first being able to communicate them effectively, being able to reflect on the importance of the expectations. Are they realistic expectations? Are we asking stuff of people that just aren't even worthy? You know what I mean? Like, I could see, okay, in communicating in the beginning of the relationship or what have you, asking your person, like, hey, about cooking. Can y'all have the shared responsibility of cooking? That is something that is an expectation or a desire of yours in a relationship. And wanting to split that responsibility of cooking. You expect that your partner can cook because, that is something that's important. What if y'all have kids? The kids need to be able to eat. You still need to eat. Your person needs to be able to eat. All of the responsibility cannot fall on you, and you are walking into a space where you don't expect all of that responsibility to fall on you, especially if your partner has the expectation of you getting up to work because you're talking about this has to be a 50-50 split in the household. And that can just navigate down a whole nother wormhole. We're going to try to stay on topic today. We're going to do our best to stay on topic, but it still is the reality. And in setting the stage for it all, just talking about common double standards. And where we are right now, I see so many videos on Instagram and Facebook and clips of like other life coaches and things of that nature where they are talking about the things that men are expecting and have standards of women, right? And then you have women who have their expectations and their standards of the men or the women that they are dating. And sometimes when you have a traditional man and maybe a non traditional woman, there's going to be that clash. Or if you have a traditional woman and a non traditional man, there's that clash. Or if you have two traditional people, but one is modern traditional and one is old school traditional, there's that other clash. And so we have to find ourselves in a space of exploring those common or the examples of common double standards, right? One that always is important for me is expecting loyalty out of friends, right? And I give it, which is why I expect it in return. And I do communicate about that loyalty. I do reflect in a space of that loyalty, right? Um, but I know sometimes, like, other people can expect loyalty from you, but they're not willing to offer that loyalty, or they want transparency while they're keeping things hidden. And so it's hard to operate in spaces with people who want things from you, or again, expect things from you that they themselves either aren't willing to give, don't know how to give, or are moving in a place of selfishness because that's what they want, period. So before we dive real deep into this, I want you to take a second and think about something. How often do you ask for things like honesty or respect or love without reflecting on how you embody those things? And I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to go into this next section of really the root of our expectations and where they come from, and really starting to dig a little deeper. So think about that. All right, gentle healers. I hope that y'all took the time to genuinely reflect on that question that I posed to you. And if I got some people that's, wanting the question again, here it is. How often do you ask for things like honesty, respect, or love without reflecting on how you embody those things? It is so important that we are willing to give back to those that we are asking for it from. It's super important. And it is important because of a key word that so many of us just don't really resonate with, and is reciprocity. We want what we want from people, but we never ask ourselves if we're giving that back. And one thing I really love about the relationship that I'm currently in is that we always check in with each other to make sure that in this week or in this month or in this day, we have given to each other what we have asked for, and that we're reciprocating it in its entirety. So as we walking into this next section, which is the root of our expectations and where they come from, I want to dive into why we create expectations and where they originate. Sometimes those expectations derive from like our childhood, right? Where we wanted certain things like from our parents. And so that resonates into our relationships. You know, we want a certain type of love. We want a certain type of um, way that a person talks to us. We want a certain type of um, loyalty, a certain type of transparency, a certain type of way that a person fixes food, or a certain type of honesty, a certain type of respect. And little do we know that sometimes those expectations are rooted in trauma. And we have to be very careful about that, because a person can give you respect, but because it doesn't look like what you are expecting, now you have a trauma response that comes of that. And that can cause trauma to the person that you are dishing it out to, which is really unfair, because they're providing you respect in the way that they know. And if you haven't communicated some things about your past that may be triggers for you, some things about your past that may be hindering you or holding you captive to a certain space, that person won't know how to operate with you. Um, if you don't ever take the time to genuinely reflect on your past before placing unrealistic expectations, because here's the reality. How can your partner respect you in the same capacity that you wanted your parents to respect you? Your partner wasn't there for your childhood. So, in some respects, even if you share that with them, even if you tell them, until you heal from that, your partner isn't going to ever be able to respect you enough, because you're wanting a certain type of respect or love or loyalty or what have you from a trauma space. And until you deal with it, again, no one will be able to respect you, love you, honor you, be loyal enough to you, right? The next place our expectations can come from is cultural and societal standards. They play such a major role in setting expectations, and we might not even question them, right? Um, I feel like one of the biggest cultural and societal standards that, especially now, is plaguing so many people is sexuality. Personally, for me, my sexuality doesn't dictate my work ethic. It doesn't dictate how I'm going to treat you. It doesn't dictate um, the type of job that I should get. It doesn't dictate my energy. It doesn't dictate. Now, that's for me personally. I can't speak on anybody else. But who I am as an individual is resonating from my morals, from my values, from my life lessons. It is resonating from a healed space of things that I have endured and I have gone through. Now, it took some work. I'm not going to lie to you and say it didn't. And I also had to come out of a space of being concerned about what society and the culture of being a Black woman said about me. I personally have never been able to conform to anything, really. I don't operate inside of a box. I don't operate inside of other people's um, viewpoints of me. And though I can't have that expectation of everybody else, you know what I mean? It's just saying that I don't operate like that. And I think that it's important for you to tap into those societal and cultural standards and really check and make sure that you aren't placing expectations on people, especially from an unspoken place. Like, why does society play a role inside of your relationship? Like, let's just keep it a bag. Why does society and the viewpoints of other people really play a part in your relationship? Does your person make you happy? Does your person love on you the way that you need to be loved? Does your person protect you? Does your person provide for you? And does your person laugh with you, hold you? Does your person walk this journey of life with you? Because really, in essence, what society has to say really matters not in the end. Those societal views, those cultural views don't pay your bills. They don't make you happy. They don't keep you going forward. In fact, they hold you to a space that you don't want to have anything to deal with, right? Those societal and those cultural, even past experiences with family and your parents and siblings, they hold you stagnant. And no matter how much you try to deny that they don't, they really do. You know, I personally don't share my relationship in its entirety on social media because I really don't care about other people's opinions. Now, somebody might say, well, if you don't care, then you'll share. But I'm big on my personal life. My personal life is my personal life. And people are going to interject their opinions no matter what, right? And so I also know me that if you come for me or mine in a disrespectful, derogatory, demeaning way, I'm going to respond. And you're not going to like my response. So therefore, I keep what's mine personal and private. Now, I may share in some adventures. I may share in, a date. I may share in matching tennis shoes or a matching outfit. I may share in the little quirks and things of that nature. But what anybody has to think about my relationship or whatever it is that she and I are doing is irrelevant to my life. It's pointless in my life because I know that my partner and we killing this thing called life. She is dope. I am dope. We are always talking about reciprocity within a day. We're always coming in to check in with each other. Hey, you know what? I'm at 50% today. Do you have it to be able to carry the other portion of my 50% so we can be at 100, right? Or I'm at a 20. Where are you at today? I might say, hey, I'm only at a 45 today, which means collectively we're only making up 65%. So what do we need to do for us to be at 100%? That's the type of dynamic that I have. And I don't need negativity or naysayers or Bible thumpers or any particular party or person trying to rain on my parade because of their viewpoints. I was able to let go of my societal and my cultural um, viewpoints in order to have a healthy relationship. That was a part of me reflecting back. And I always urge y'all to reflect. Before you move forward, before you try to dive into a relationship, a newfound friendship, definitely make sure that you're checking the trap of where you are mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I've always said, too, when it comes to spiritually, I am more about my relationship than I am about religion. I could care less about the religion if I don't have a relationship with God, period. Like, that's just my personal take and my personal viewpoint on that. The next thing that plays like a really big part of our expectations is the role of insecurity and fear. If you've ever been in a relationship where, whew, you were giving that relationship your all. You was putting all of your energy, all of your effort, all of your love, all of your might. You were giving. Really didn't place any unrealistic expectations into that relationship. And here it is, that person that you are in a relationship with at the time is giving you all of the exact opposite. Made you feel less beautiful, made you feel less worthy, made you feel like you weren't good enough, made you feel like your cooking was crap, made you feel like you never measured up. That caused insecurities within you. But those insecurities that you picked up was the insecurities of that other person that was transposed to you. Put them insecurities down. They don't have nothing to do with you. You were still as worthy as you were from the beginning. You were still as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than you were. You are still phenomenal. And you are a prize within your own right. However, you chip away at your prize status and you chip away at the greatness of who you are because you're walking around with insecurities that you allowed somebody to place onto you because of their actions. Their actions, honestly, was a blessing to you. It showed you the character of who they are and their flaws so that you were able to see, you know what? I really don't need to endure this, and I don't have to endure this. This isn't for me. It is beneath me. It is unworthy of me, of my time and my energy, and I don't have to deal with any of it. But while you were also gaining those insecurities or picking up those insecurities from that person that you were in a relationship with, you also picked up fear. And fear is not real. In some respects, it is not real. It is what I love the acronym is false evidence appearing real. Walking into relationships can be quite difficult when you don't know how to communicate, or you and your partner or person that you are connecting with um, aren't being real with yourself about what it is that you want, what it is that you need, what it is that you deserve, and not feeling like, oh, if I don't tap in with this person, I may never get to another person this great. And ignoring all of the red flags, ignoring all of the yellow flags, even the orange flags for this one green flag. And you're going to find yourself walking in the same type of relationship that you was just walking in on the previous one that gave you the insecurities and that gave you the fears. The fear is still that you're not worthy enough, or that you'll never find happiness, or that you'll never, be great enough for someone else. When in essence, you really are. You just have to tap back into who you are. Tap back into the truest form. And here's the thing that I don't think that we realize. Every time we grow, every time we learn a lesson, we become a better version of ourselves. So by the time that the person that, let's say you're in a relationship with, that you gained all of them insecurities and gained all of them fears from, by the time they come to the place of wanting to really love you and really reflecting that they had a good girl, or for ladies, you had a good guy, it's too late, because the person that you want to love is no longer that person. And they are now someone new, and you don't know them. You don't know them. So be very careful in placing expectations that are rooted in insecurities and fears. We can project these standards onto others because of those insecurities, those fears, and then they become weaknesses and they become hindrances, and they then turn into resentment and so many other host of other things that serve us absolutely no purpose at all. And while we're talking about insecurities and fears, I want to break down our unconscious expectations, right? And again, it taps into not being able to communicate, or it's a thing of, you see another relationship excuse me, thriving and doing great, or you're looking at it and you're like, that is what I want, but you don't share with your person that those are the things that you want. you know Uh, is it fair to look at another relationship and place the expectation onto your person, and then protect your vulnerabilities? See, in order to have those healthy friendships and relationships and workships and all of those good things, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Now, you also got to protect it, yes, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable and be open and be willing to cultivate a beautiful space with people that will help the relationship to thrive. Now, the only person you can control is yourself. You can't control the other person, but you have to be willing to communicate what it is that you want with the person and give them either the opportunity to respond back to what it is they can and cannot do with you, if they're being realistic and real with you, or give them the opportunity to show that they can change and that they can be in this space of vulnerability with you and communicate back with you, and also share with you where some of your expectations may be unrealistic, and you have to be willing to hear them, and you have to be unwilling to hear what your person is saying to you, and checking the trap for yourself. You got to study self before you can walk into anything with any real expectations. Me personally, I don't like expectations. I don't. I feel like expectations are the mother of all disappointments. And so I have turned expectations into requirements. This is what it requires to be with me. This is what it requires to be able to withstand a relationship with me. I require friendship in my relationship. If I don't have a friendship with you, then what are we doing? If I can't be vulnerable with you, what are we doing? If I can't trust that you're going to come back and tell me 100% truth, what are we doing? Uh, I'm not in that, right? I also reflected that in previous relationships, I had some unrealistic expectations, y'all. I did. I had unrealistic expectations because like I said in the beginning, was walking in a trauma space. And those expectations didn't allow me to really have healthy relationships and healthy dynamics, even up to the point of my last marriage. It just didn't. I really didn't know what healing looked like. And people would tell me, hey, you need to sit and, you need to heal and you need to do this. And I didn't know what that looked like. And guess what? They didn't have the tools to even tell me what that looked like, other than I need to be by myself. But being by myself to do what? Being by myself to re- to reflect on what? Like sometimes we're so hurt and we're so full of trauma and we're so full of damaged parts that without the necessary tools or the proper conversations, we don't even know where to begin. Like for this part of my healing and this part of my journey, I had done a lot of the research on my own, and really taking the time to dive deep. But when I was younger, I was too angry and too hurt and too full of rage and resentment to even know what the first step was to healing. And so I not only had unrealistic expectations, I had no requirements, I really didn't have any standards, and I had unconscious expectations because I would be looking at relationships at their happiest moments, saying that's what I want. But I didn't know what it took for them to get to that space, even in friendships. Even in friendships, some of my closest friends, we have been through the war. Do you hear me? We have been through some battles, but because we loved each other, the battles that we've been through were insignificant. Our love for each other outweighed all of what we went through. And we also gave each other grace and growing. We stepped away, we came back, we did all of the things and the work that we needed to do to make our friendship stronger. Now, I don't talk to my best friends. Well, I'm not even going to call them my best friends. They're my sisters. I don't talk to them every day, but they know hands down if they need me, they can call me. And I feel the same way. If I need them and it was back against the wall, dire straits, I could call them, even if it was just for a listening ear, you know? So here's the next thing that I want you to think about before I go to quick break. Think about a time that you felt let down. Was it because the person truly failed you, or did they fail to meet a standard you hadn't communicated or examined? I want you to write down the answer, and I hope you wrote down the answer to the first one. And I want you to write down the answer to this one. Think about a time you felt let down. Was it because the person truly failed you, or did they just fail to meet a standard you hadn't communicated or examined? Think about it. I'm going to take a brief break, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the harm of unrealistic expectation. Okay, stay with me, gentle healers. I'll be back after this short break. All right, gentle healers, welcome back. And thank you for staying with me. I hope that the last two questions that I have asked you have been impactful and thought provoking so that it can open up a whole new segment of healing for you and just tapping into where you hadn't tapped into before. Now, I told you before commercial break that when we came back, we would be talking about the harm of unrealistic expectations and the impact of unrealistic expectations, on relationships and self-perception can cause strain. To be realistic, no pun intended, but those unmet expectations, they lead to disappointment and resentment. And I said it in the beginning and halfway through. Expectations that are unspoken and that are unrealistic is the mother of disappointment. Hence the reason that I told you, Chanel, I don't operate in that space because I've been disappointed way too many times. Now, I've operated before in a space where I had unrealistic or spoken expectations. It doesn't resonate with me now because I've learned from it, but it does like really leave you feeling disappointed. But is the disappointment because the person disappointed you? And it ties into the question that I said before we went to commercial break. Is it truly that the person failed you, or did they fail to meet a standard that you hadn't communicated or examined? Because that's important to really like check into. As really important to reflect on and think about. Did I communicate that? Let's say, for instance, okay, so my girl calls me high bar. It's an inside joke that we have, but she calls me a high bar. She's like, you have high bar taste when it comes to food. You have high bar taste when it comes to your perfumes, your cosmetics. You have high bar taste when it comes to your clothing, where you want to travel. She's just like, you are high bar. And so, me exuding that, I didn't have to communicate that that's who I was or who I am as an individual because I exuded that that's the quality. However, I did have to communicate the type of places that I wanted to travel, the type of foods that I like to eat, the type of clothing that I like to wear, the type of cosmetics, the type of perfume, the type of products that I like to use for my facial care and things of that nature. But I also had to be realistic, right? I had to be realistic with where our budget is. I had to be realistic about where we are sacrificing in our finances so that we can continue to grow in our businesses and we can get to the place that we want to be. I had to be realistic in where I was in my healing journey about being in my own way. So where I exuded that level of high barness, I didn't always feel high bar. Sometimes I felt low bar, and I had to get out of my own head and out of my own way. But I also, you know, again, had to check and make sure that I walked into this relationship with all realistic expectations. I communicated everything that I am, that I was looking for, that I wanted, and I needed for her to give that back to me. I needed her to tell me what is the things that she required of me to be in a relationship with her, the things that she required of me for us to be able to move on and all of those good things. We even sat up the other night, y'all, to like 5:30 in the morning just talking and reflecting and really just going deep into our thoughts and what we wanted for ourselves and some traumas and all of those different things. And not only did it connect us on a deeper level, but it allowed us to see where we needed to show up for each other in the spaces, how we needed each other, and the things that we wanted from each other. Some of it was unspoken. We were able to hear it between the lines of what we did say because maybe we didn't know how to communicate it, but we did come back and ask the vital questions. And so we were able to answer those questions accordingly with what we knew we could communicate. But we were also being able to be very transparent with each other and let each other know, like, hey, this is where I am, but I'm still learning this space and I'm still you know, experiencing new things with you that I've never experienced it before. So be gentle with me, be careful with me, right? This is a space where I'm fragile and I'm okay with being fragile in that space. Just love on me in that space. And so if you don't want strained relationship, if you don't want to be in a relationship where you're constantly feeling like there's tension or there is a large space or a gap, because it's in the gap that all of the things happen, the cheating, the further distance, the space where you're inviting other people into your relationship that's unnecessary, right? And so we have to be very careful about that. The other part of that in the strained relationship is also self-deception and lack of growth. We spend a lot of time pointing our finger at our partner for not showing up and showing out in the way that we need them to, based on unspoken expectations, unrealistic expectations, the lack of communication, and all the other damaging parts, right? But we don't ever take the time to pay attention to the three fingers that is pointing back at us. And so we live in a space of being delusional. We live in a space of where we're staying stagnant to this particular place, and we're consistently saying, you know what, he wasn't no good, or she wasn't no good, or they wasn't no good for me, and because of ABC, XYZ. And here's the reality in that too. If we're living in a particular type of space, we may be connected to that same particular type of friends. So when we go to talk to our friends about what's going on, we're going to have friends that's going to jump on our bandwagon about the BS that's happening in the relationship. And that friend is not going to come to you and keep it a bag with you. You know what? You was out of pocket. Did you tell him or her that's what you were thinking or feeling? Well, no. So how are you expecting this person to show up in this way? Maybe you are connected to a friend that wants to tell you that, but that friend is not going to tell you because they know that you can't hear it, or you're not in a space of being able to receive it without feeling like you got to defend yourself or being combative about what they're telling you because you haven't taken the time to study yourself. Like every day you should be growing to be a better version of you was the day before. And that even includes myself. Yesterday, I was inside of my head about showing up back up for the podcast. And I really reflected on my consistency level with my podcast. I really reflected on the fact that every time that there is a pivot or a transition in my life, I put my podcast to the side and then I come back to it instead of continuously fighting my way through and showing up in my podcast, no matter what the dynamic is. And so knowing that, today was my first day of being like, you're going to show up not only for yourself, but for your audience, the audience that you're trying to reach, and for the people that really do need you. Everybody's not going to agree with me, and everybody's not going to resonate with the things that I'm saying, but it is my job in walking in purpose to continuously show up. God gave me a gift. He gave me a talent, and he gave me this purpose, and I got to show up in it, right? But that's me growing. That's me not living in a place of delusion. And that's not being self deceptive in what it is that I am doing. Because here's the thing, too, I'm also in a relationship with myself. I am my worst enemy when it comes to critiquing and things of that nature. I have to empower myself. I have to uplift myself. I have to continuously seek God to make sure that I am doing that. I have to validate myself. So if I can't do it for myself, how can I possibly do it for somebody else? I have to continue studying me. I have to continually be my cheerleader. I have to continuously be my advocate. I have to continuously also sometimes be my own life coach and my own therapist through a situation. Now, that's not saying I don't have one. But in a moment like last night, when I'm up just thinking, I'm like, Chanel, you are self sabotaging. You are deceiving yourself. You are not growing in your business. You are not taking the hour or 2 hours or 3 hours out of your day to do whatever it is that you need to do for your business. There is so much stuff that I've been working on in the background that I have yet to share with y'all. I have yet to post with y'all. I have yet to do all of these things. But here's the reality as well. How can I grow with my partner if I'm not even growing myself? And growth just isn't in my maturity, in my communication, in my thought process. Growing is also in the way that I walk, the way that I talk, the way that I dress, the way that I move, how I show up in the world, how I show up for other people. You got to do it. I'm telling you, it's literally like, period. You got to show up for every area of your life so that you can be substantial in a relationship. Like, here's the reality, y'all. We always want to dive into friendships, relationships, whatever the case may be, and ask the other party, like, what do you bring to the table? When in reality, some of us don't even have a table. You got a hollow ass life. You got hollow thoughts. You got hollow standards. You got a lot of hollowness. But then you want somebody else to show up for you and put some stuff on your table, but you don't even have anything to put on their table. Baby, you don't even have a table for them to put anything on. But you want people to take you serious, take you traveling, spend money on you, treat you like a queen, being treated like a king. Like, stop showing up with these false realities. Stop showing up with these fake ass expectations because you can't even show up for yourself in that manner. And I've mentioned before, I love getting flowers every single Friday. But guess what? I couldn't expect somebody else to show up for me in that capacity when I wasn't even willing to show up for myself in that capacity. So, you know what I started doing? I started buying myself flowers every single Friday so that when my girl and I got together, I could share with her genuinely, hey, these are the flowers that I like. These are the seasons that they come in. These are the color roses that I like. And this is what brightens up my day. Now, she doesn't get them every Friday. She actually gets them every Sunday. And it is the beauty at the start of our week. Now, that's not saying that she doesn't do other things that I like, but when it specifically comes to the flowers, she starts our week off with beautiful flowers. I am in my pink era right now. My favorite color is pink. In the next season of my journey in life, I don't know what my favorite color will be, but right now it is pink. And she finds the most beautiful pink flowers, roses, peonies. Oh my gosh. They every Sunday she just shows up. But here's the thing. I had to know and I had to grow into that space. And then I had to pray about it and I manifested that. Woo. One day I'm going to get her on this podcast and we're just going to dive and I'm going to make sure that she's okay with what we're going to talk about, right? Because she's like me. She's private. You know, our personal life is our personal life. And I feel like that's what keeps us, thriving in such a beautiful space. We're not worried about the thoughts and the opinions of others. But guess what we both did? We both did the work before we got to this relationship. We both did not impose unrealistic, expectations or even unrealistic requirements to be in a relationship with each other. We was like real gritty with it. We kept it 100 with each other. What it is that we wanted, what it is that we needed, what it is that we had to have, what it is. And let me let me say this. We was not walking in a space of delusion, okay? It is so many people out here right now that is so delusional about what it means to be top tier or what it means to be great or what it means to be so many other things. They are so freaking delusional. It is ridiculous. You cannot be in a substantial relationship and be delusional about life, about yourself, about what it means to be top tier, about requirements, about expectations. You just simply cannot. Period. Projection and emotional exhaustion is another thing that is so big in relationships. And relationships, I just don't mean intimate ones, okay? That's just like the general consensus word. mm, you projecting your unhealed baggage, your emotional trauma off on me, and then expecting me to be able to heal you when you yourself are not willing to heal yourself. You're not even willing to go through the work that it needs to go through in order to be in the best place. Like, how you coming to me with expectations when, shorty, you not even ready for a real relationship of any caliber? You're not even ready for that high bar life that you're wanting. Baby, you're not even ready for the high bar woman or man to come into your life and even show you what that life looks like. So, like, before you start placing expectations on people and start throwing out emotional baggage and emotional anything onto anybody, any type of baggage, you need to check yourself, period. Don't come at me or anybody else with unhealed trauma and unhealed spaces trying to drop at and act like you got some real knowledge about something when all of it is really just regurgitation of what you heard somebody else say. You not even walking, living, breathing, talking in a proper healed space. Like, girl, boy, bye. Like, get yourself together first before you try to come into anything acting like you got it all put together and you don't. Because again, you're maneuvering in hollow spaces. Again, you don't even have a table. Like, that is a joke to walk into a relationship. That is a joke to walk into anything that you want and claim that it's supposed to be substantial, but you don't even have anything substantial about yourself. And that's the reality of it all. Check this out. I have another thought provoking question for y'all before we move on to the next part of this. It is like demanding a partner to love us unconditionally while we struggle to give ourselves the same love. Imagine the weight that that puts on someone else. You're telling your person, I am at a 0% every single day, and I am expecting you to carry 100% every single day while I learn how to love me or give myself the love that I am expecting you to give me every single day. There is not one person walking the earth's surface that can carry 100% every single day without at some point breaking down or feel like they themselves are falling apart from carrying your baggage and theirs, or carrying your load plus the load of trying to maintain a great relationship with you, knowing full well that you are not in a space of being able to receive it, accept it, love on it, care for it, or anything of the caliber. That is unfair. And I don't want to even hear, oh, life isn't fair. No, in a relationship, life is to be fair, because you're talking about another person's feelings, another person's mental health, another person's well being, another person's emotional health, their financial health, their prayer life. Their knees might end up being white from spending so much time on them because you keep knocking them to their knees with your baggage. That is crap to think that you can walk into any substantial, high bar, top tier relationship and you are low bar, low tier, first rung of the relation of life. Come on now. Let's get real. Let's get real. And this is where we walk into building balanced expectations. They have to be balanced, they have to be realistic. And it goes into the things that I have been saying all along. Self awareness, the study of yourself, as my father so eloquently puts it, meology, which is the study of self. Asking yourself for something that you lack. Asking, are you really in the place to be able to receive, to cultivate, to love on, to nourish, to help blossom what it is that you're expecting? You got to check in with yourself, just not where you are physically, but where are you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially? Are you walking in purpose? Have you even tapped into your passion? Have you have you checked in with yourself? Are you able to offer the same behaviors that you are expecting from others in return? Do you know about reciprocity? Do you know its truest form of love? And here's the thing, you can never receive the truest form of love if you yourself don't know how to give yourself love. People hate being alone. Why? Because alone makes you sit in your own shit. Being alone makes you reflect on where you are and what you have to give to another person. And sometimes we don't want to reflect that we really and genuinely don't have anything to give to a person in the space and place that we are in life, but baggage. However, when you are walking in a healed space, that you're able to give the love and return that you are so desperately wanting, when you're able to sit in realistic expectations and cultivate a beautiful space with another person, baby, you can receive it in its truest form. You've been able to give it to yourself and you can give it and receive it. Here's the thing. I want you to think about this for your self reflection. Ask yourself, am I giving as much am I asking for? And I know I've said it again. I've said it before, but I just wanted to reiterate it. Would it be okay if others held me to the same standard that I'm placing on them? If the answer is no to either one of those, start digging a little deeper. Start reflecting into some of your childhood traumas. Start digging a little deeper as to what it is that you need to heal from and you need to really reflect upon before you start asking other people to give to you. Do you communicate openly? Because unrealistic expectations, y'all, often go unspoken, right? We expect somebody to walk into our lives and we're not paying necessarily attention to the way that they love us or if they even have the capability of loving us, right? We're just walking into it from trauma responses. So you need to open up your mouth, your mind, your heart, your vulnerability to honestly express your needs with your friends, your family, and your partners. But express it when you're not emotional so that you can convey it without it sounding like your thoughts are all over the place. Because when we speak from an emotional standpoint, there is no clear and concise feelings or verbiage about what it is that you're trying to get across. I'm telling you, I was in that space, which is why I can speak to it. When I needed to talk to my mom or my dad or my siblings about anything, guess what? It was coming from an emotional standpoint. And because it was, they couldn't understand and they couldn't receive what I was saying. It felt like an attack on them, and it wasn't. It was me just being really emotional from holding on to things that were inside my head, that was inside my heart, assumptions that I had made, like a plethora of things. And it went on and on and on and on. I had to check myself. I'm telling you, checking yourself is so therapeutic. You don't want to do it, but it's a necessity. Because I used to keep asking myself, why do I keep getting in relationships where I'm not receiving what it is that I want? And that's because Chanel was operating in a stupid ass trauma space, a trauma space in my head, in my heart, in my finances, in my mind, spiritually, the whole 9 yards. I was praying, but I wasn't praying in a way where it was to turn the negatives into positives, to turn my hurt into healed, turn my baggage and the trauma into tools. I wasn't using that my baggage into bricks to be able to build a stage of positive light. I couldn't do that. Look, y'all, ask yourself, if you measure up to your own standards, ask yourself that. Can you really have a reality check with yourself? But it also can be very humbling. It's a humbling reminder that we're all on different journeys in our lives. It's a humble reminder that, hey, I'm not in a space and place where I want to be or I need to be just yet, and able, in order to be able to receive what it is in this life that I want. God will never give you what you're not prepared for. He will never give you what you don't have the strength or the tools to operate in. My girl is a welder. I don't know anything about welding. I can do the research so that I know more about her craft. But guess what? I can't go to her job and start acting like I know what it is that I'm doing because I don't know. And I know you may feel like, how is that apples and oranges? But here's the thing, that is her space, her lane. I can give her the love and support to her space, her lane, but I can't walk in her space and her lane and acting like I got it all figured out because I don't. I don't know anything about that. And that is the same for life. You can't walk up to somebody that's in a healed, positive space and acting like you're going to be able to school them on something when you still operating in a negative space. I'm negative to the information. I am inept to the ability of being able to walk into the welding space or go to her job and be able to tell her anything about her job. I know nothing. I'm negative to the information about it. So how dare I walk into her lane? So you can't walk into the lane of high bar, high vibrational people and expect to be able to operate in that space. You're coming in with low vibrational energy, and that's the space that you're going to operate in. Period. Period. So again, ask yourself if you measure up to your own standards. Because if you don't, there's your reality check. Again, it is a humbling reminder of where you are in life. And it's okay to step back from people. It's okay to grow. It's okay to heal. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some people, but that's okay. That is okay. In order for you to be the best version and a better version of yourself, you're going to have to drop the dead weight. And some of the dead weight you're carrying within yourself because now it's comfortable. It's become your reality and you don't have time to live in that space. You want to invest in your own self development. You have to embrace your growth of becoming this best version of yourself. Instead of expecting others to like fill in the gap of your life, fill them, fill them in on your personal growth. Fill them in on your journey. Fill them in. And if you got people around you that you can't share that with because you feel like now they're going to be jealous or hating on you or trying to throw stones at a glass house, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They not your people. You need to get new people. You need to start visiting different places. You need to start hanging out in different spaces, high bar places with high vibration, not these low bar places with low vibration. Okay? Start filling people in on your self-love, showing them that you love yourself. Posting pictures of you buying yourself flowers or stopping to smell the roses, getting your nails done, getting your toes done, checking out reading a new book, going to the bookstore, taking walks, connecting with nature, whatever that is that looks like for you. And taking accountability. Sometimes taking accountability is showing up in a space with an apology, sending a letter of an apology. Even if you never get that person back in your life, that is okay. Take accountability for where you've hurt people in your space of trauma and unhealed baggage. Redefining your success in relationships look like, again, apologies. Redefining yourself in the relationship and what a successful relationship looks like to you, right? Let your relationships be about collaboration and mutual respect, not expectations. Allow them to be about requirements and you respecting their requirements and they respecting your requirements, as long as they're still realistic. It's about your growth, it's about the support, and it's about shared values, not feeling a checklist, not just being like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this person checks off this box and this person checks off that box. Yes, it feels great, but it's also a reflection of how much you've grown for this type of person to come into your life. And y'all can grow together, support each other. This, even during this portion of the podcast, is reflection for me of how far I've come and just thinking about the relationship that I am in. When I tell y'all, I love my lady. She is so, oh my gosh. She is the epitome of dope. But that's a reflection of me, y'all. That is a reflection of what I have done, the work that I have put into self to be able to manifest and be blessed with someone who is matching my energy, who is matching that love, who gives without question, who gives. She doesn't deny me of anything. I don't deny her of anything. Y'all, I could go on and talk about her. She is so phenomenal. She is great. She is great. And in that process of you redefining the success in your relationships, guess what? Celebrate yourself. Celebrate your progress. Celebrate you building that trust back into yourself. Celebrate you being this new version of you, and don't let anybody, and when I mean anybody, hold you to your past. You can say, so that used to be me. You should get to know the new me, or check out, because this friendship may not serve us any longer. I appreciate the time that we had together. I do. But I need friendships that are on high vibration, not low vibration. And people that are in low vibration, as you are growing, you'll start to see, oh, she thinks she better than us. I remember when because I know the real her. I know the real you. And here's the thing. Those thoughts were even in my head. When I was operating in a low vibrational space, I was afraid to move forward in my life because it's like people are always coming for you. Right. Oh, I know her in real life. I know what she used to be like in real life. I know her when she was with this person. I know when she was with that person. Guess what? Let me tell y'all right now. So what? And if anybody that know me is listening to this particular podcast, so you should take the time to get to know me, because the new me is super dope. The new me is on a high vibration. The new me is high bar. And that's okay if you don't like me. I'm fine with that. I love myself. This isn't a shade to anybody at all. This is saying that you too can be on that space where you're not operating in low vibration. Okay, you know the old version of me, just like I know the old version of you, and you should get to know me. Just like it would be an honor and a privilege to get to know the new version of you. We may never be friends again, but getting to know the new version of you would be great. I want y'all to remember this as I come to close out this episode. When you start meeting your own standards, you will attract the same people who do. It's about being the person that you seek instead of expecting others to be what you aren't willing to become. I'll repeat that again. When you start meeting your own standards, you will attract the people who will do the same. It is about being the person you seek instead of expecting others to be what you aren't willing to become. As we wrap up this episode, y'all, I take a moment to reflect on where I may have been expecting things. And I want you to reflect on where you may be expecting too much of others and too little of yourself. Instead of waiting for others to meet your standards, I want you to focus on embodying them. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Talking Toast. Now, I am rolling out YouTube at the top of the year. So, come January, I want you to go and subscribe. And I'll be reminding y'all along the way. I want you to come back and join me next time as we continue to explore life, love, and growth. Until then, keep toasting to the journey and let's keep each other accountable on this path of healing. All right, y'all. So such another successful podcast episode. And again, thank you so much for joining me. If you don't already follow me on social media, please do so on Instagram at Provoke Change. I also have a Facebook page. It's Chanel Provoke Change Gresham. I'm getting better at posting there, but Instagram is my main page. As I mentioned at the end of the episode, YouTube is coming up at the top of the year. I did have some hiccups with that, but in 2025, it is the year for Provoke Change, and we're going to be doing that. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. I will be reminding y'all along the way. I am bringing the website back. I did shut it down to revamp that. And so there's going to be some big things coming in 2025. Again, follow me on social media. You can listen on all platforms. So please share my episodes with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. And I so greatly appreciate the support. Until next time, continue to talk and toast to life.